Well, Dad, we wanted to continue our interview. I might mention by way of explanation that we're now meeting together on the 27th of March, 1988, in your home, and almost 7 years have passed since we
in the home of
completed.
1531 Westminster.
Right, 7 years have passed since we finished our last interview, so we're just getting around to completing this. We left off on the last interview with you arriving in California with your brother Brian and your father. So we'd like to ask you some questions pertaining to what you first did, where you went to when you arrived in California, and where you stayed.
Well, my mother and the other children, half of the family had arrived there ahead of us. They traveled by train. We weren't in any financial condition to be moving our family around. Grandmother and Grandpa, they arranged to have Mother and the kids come down there. They rented a home. They set up a grocery account at a store there to accommodate Mom and all that we got there. And we had very little money to gain. Dad had it really tough. He's had it tough, and for a good number of reasons. Mother was sick, been sick for many years. And the only thing they could do was to get her out of North Dakota and down to California. He couldn't afford that. My grandparents, that's my mother's parents, they arranged to do all that, to get the family down there. And so when Brian, Dad, and myself arrived there, there was a small home already occupied that we shared with them, so we all got back together again. And then of course there had to be work. And Dad had no job then. Things were dang tough. And so he went to work. He had in earlier years worked for his father-in-law, Grandpa, and Grandpa, well, his brother-in-law, Everett, too, Mother's brother. They were plastering contractors. They did ornamental work and a lot of things like that. They were very proficient men, all of them, including Dad in his work. And Dad had been doing a lot of painting. He did a lot of painting in his time. And when we left North Dakota, he had a sign shop of his own, and was making the best living he could off of that. But he had painted many homes and structures and so forth, and big billboards and production signs and all. And so when we left there, I went to California. He had to find new grounds of employment. So we went to work with Grandpa and Uncle Everett. Grandpa was a plastering contractor, and Dad went to work for him. And then in later years, and I don't know exactly how much time, but Dad then went into business for himself, plastering, contracting. He was very proficient in everything he went into, he was an all-around, and he didn't want for talent. He was a good artist, a good sign painter. Anything he took on, he could do.
Okay, now, what I need to know is, did you go to school in September there in Santa Cruz, and what school did you go to?
I don't remember for sure dates right to the nose, but we went down there all right. We stopped there, and Dad and Brian and I, we 23rd of August and 24th of August, right in there, my birthday, 14th birthday, we came to Salt Lake City.
Now, I have that history down. What we need to know is when you arrived in Santa Cruz,
and so,
where you attended school and where.
So when we got down to California, I started school all right at little school out, the community school, public school, Live Oak Elementary.
Did all your brothers and sisters go to the same school?
Well, I don't know that. I can't say that, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But I went to Live Oak and in school, and I had difficulty in getting to graduate and all. I did graduate and all that, and the class. My reason being that I had difficulty was I had to stay out of school so much, and approved by the state board to help my father to make a living for the family in his plastering contracting business. And so I had extra effort. It was hard for me to progress into school. And I took night classes in shop, woodworking, and things of that sort. And I also was, in helping my father, I took on being a lather, wood wire and metal lather, and the union made an exception to take me in. I was a journeyman at 16, wood wire and metal lather. Journeyman being you had to meet certain qualifications regarding workmanship and quantity, and I had to make hit the same ball as adults did. And there was plenty of those that wanted my dad's work and all that, and were willing to give me opportunity to learn it and all, and I did. I learned lathing. I was a wood wire and metal lather, union member, drawing top wages. And I did a lot for my dad then, so he didn't have to hire others. And then, while out of school like that, I had to, see, he didn't have any money. I had to help him. I hauled the sand for his plastering and cement work. Most of the homes down there were stucco at that time. And I had to haul the sand, and from the beaches early in the morning when you could barely see to his different jobs for his workmen. And then I had to haul the scaffold, and I had to haul the plaster, and I also had to haul the bags of cement and all that stuff as well.
Well, did your dad have other men working for him?
He'd have one or two men working for him. He'd have a hod carrier, and then he would have maybe one helping him, see? And in addition to that, and he had one or two real top men. There were, one of them was a young fellow he'd learned from grandfather. He'd been a neighbor and all, and he learned from my grandfather's plastering, and he worked for Dad a lot too. And he was terrific in in the quantity and quality of workmanship. So I had to haul all that to save him spending money he didn't have, and all his jobs are contracted. He had to bid on them, and it was tough, very tough. And so I would go to school once in a while, that's enough to meet the school board's requirements, and then I would work, and then I finally went to mostly night school after working all day. I went to shop at a high school, and I rated good there, but I had a rough time of it. And my brothers and sisters, so that you'll know, when I left home, my mother had prompted me to get out. She said, "You'll never get anywhere just working for us here. You got to get out on your own, and we've got to make it our own." She said, "I think that some members of the family are getting to lean too much on you, and especially your dad." And she said, "I think he's got to figure things out differently." So she came to me one night, and I hadn't anything planned or anything, but she came to me one night and said my grandparents, her parents and all that were going way down to Southern California, El Centro and all, and she wanted me to ride down with them and get out on my own.
How old were you at this time?
I was only about 17 and a half. 17 and a half. Well, I didn't have...
Remember what month of the year that was?
Huh?
What month of the year when you left?
No, I'm not sure. Except that, no, I didn't have any money or anything. I rode with my grandparents. But between the time that I was home helping my folks and becoming 17 years of age, 17 and a half, I did lots of work. So I had 3.5 years there that I did work, and lots of it. I did woodwire metal lathing. I worked in the bulbs. Some places I worked 11 hours a day, and I put anywhere from 8 to 11 hours a day working in the bulbs. And
now, where were you working in the flower bulbs?
Well, I was working in bulbs. The area there is poultry and eggs and bulbs. It's that area in California, and truck gardening. And so I worked at that. All of them. I contracted berry patch and picked the berries and shipped those to San Francisco, and they mailed me a check. And I worked by the hour in the bulbs. My brother worked there too, Brian. He was a wonderful guy. So
Then you also cleaned chicken pens, you mentioned, right?
And so my grandmother, she did everything to make $1 or $2 to help her family. She raised chickens and rabbits. She killed and cleaned them, readied them for market, took them to market. And she worked like a dog. And I used to go over there and I'd clean all the pens and clean out from under them regularly and all. and do whatever I could to help her with her chores. Because she had so much to do. She was just a hard-working little... Because her and Grandpa worked for other people. They just worked their pants off just to help others. And they were wonderful. I can see now, I remember now, saying, well, Daddy, she'd say, what about it? Shall I do this or that? You do whatever you want to do. It's all right with me. Helping the kids and all that stuff. Everything. You do whatever you want to do, Dal. Everything. And he just worked hard. So I worked in the bulbs and in the berries and contracting, all those different things. Planting and harvesting too, gathering eggs and so forth.
Now when you left home with your grandparents from Santa Cruz, where did you go?
Well, see, my brothers and sisters weren't all grown by any means. My youngest brother was a baby then. And that night I hadn't planned to leave home, hadn't heard about it or nothing. But Mother knew that Dad wouldn't agree. She just put it on her own. She said, came to me at night and said, they're going down, and you better ride with them and take off with them. And so when I did what she told me, and I got ready to go. She handed me a $5 bill. She said, Harry, this is all I can give you. I said, it's okay, keep that if you want. She said, well, I know you'll make it. I don't worry about you at all. And so we started out down there and got outside of King City. And Grandmother hit a soft shoulder with her 23 Buick touring car. She was the one that drove. Went off the road and she rolled it. Rolled it off the road. And Dorothy and I were in the back seat, Dorothea, and my cousin, my grandfather, and grandmother were in the front. It was a touring car and it just bent the top down, the windshield frame and all that down on it. Well, I forgot about, recently somebody brought this to my attention, Dolores. I forgot that Aunt Lou and Jack Clabby, her friend, and her kids, we were following them in the car. I don't remember them being with us, but Dolores wrote, she gave me the whole story in there somewhere, and to bring my attention to it, that they were all together, and the family missed us, so they turned around and came back and found us in the car, rolled off the road. We got bunged up a bit, and I got my hands cut from the windshield glasses, trying to straighten up the frame and not seeing the glass. And we were lucky that we didn't get killed or get hurt at all. And at Tamonte, just sprays and a few cuts and stuff. And we straightened the car up, got some other people in cars when they come by, helped us tip it up on its four wheels, and they jacked it up, and in those days the spokes on the wheels were wood, and so we were able to straighten out by jacking the wooden spokes back in line and all. We was able to drive the car on, and I drove the car on from there into Los Angeles, and when we got down there, Grandma says, well, I'm not going to go on and leave you here. All right, she said, I'd like to know more, that you get help, see if you get established or something. And she says, we don't have much money. I didn't come from a money family, I'll tell you that. And so on. I said, you better stick here a day or two. So, all right. So I went through the block, and there's a garage. I went over and I hit for a job. So the third day I was there, I went to work. I don't think I ever stopped. For one of the finest craftsmen to go in, Oscar Kloster, Norwegian. And so, I said to her then, I took my check home and I gave it to grandmother. I said, here, you just well stay on, you folks here, as long as you want. You take this check and I'll give you my check each week and you to meet our expenses while you're here. She didn't want to do it, but she said, I guess I have to because I don't have any choice. So they stayed on for quite a while. And I kept on working, staying there, and they finally went on down to El Centro and all down in the desert. They'd been down in Salida. They'd been there before. I had never been there, so they went on. I stayed in L.A.
What were they going down there for? Were they going down there for employment, or?
I just, no, I don't think specifically any employment. I really don't know. I don't think whether they had a house down there or there was something or some other family members or what, you know. They had spent considerable time down there at different times. So I really don't know, but they were going down there, and I took the ride to go down with them. So I just stayed there, and the Depression hit. I didn't have any money because all that I had given it to Grandma every week. I got paid by the week, and I gave it to her to meet the expenses of all of us, you know. And Dorothea went to work for a Chinese store, and so, well, I stayed on, and I eventually...
How long did you work for Oscar?
Well, I don't really remember, in the sense that the Depression hit, see, right there, right quick, and they left me there. I had no reserve or nothing, and I had a hell of a time trying to make a living and getting enough to eat and all. And I been going with Mother. I met Mother, and I was going with her, and we kind of figured on getting married, but we didn't have a wrestling jacket for a bed bug.
Let me ask you first, before we get into your relationship with Mother there, what type of work were you doing for Oscar?
I was doing blacksmithing, automobile bodybuilding, and mechanical work and welding. And I worked day and night at that stuff.
Were you also running a wrecker for him, or was that for somebody else?
No wrecker. Didn't have any wrecker at all. We worked, the people brought the work to us. Different shops and all. We specialized in frame straightening, axle straightening, front wheel alignment. They were all big solid I-beams, steel, like different than what we got now to deal with. It was 1934 when they came forward with knee action, and the first one being Plymouth. And so Oscar used me in everything. I see the bodies in cars then. We were repairing wrecked automobiles, putting new cloth tops on, and rebuilding the woodwork. The bodies of automobiles in were woodwork covered with metal. And you had to be a woodworker. And you had to be a metal man. You had to be able to cut and shape panels, crown them and all under trip hammer and all, to fit and replace. In the shop that Oscar was in, the back part of the long shop was mechanic. And they were top men, old timers in the field, top men. Did most of their work was Packards, Pearsall, Rolls-Royce, Duesenbergs. I could go on. And then down one other side there's automotive electrical, Carl Manage. Then down the other side there was a Frenchman, Le Bon, who did all upholstery work and all of automobiles. And then we took over the front part and had a forge. We made all our own tools. Made all our own tools in the forge. Tongs and everything. We did all that other work that I mentioned to you. We rebuilt wrecked automobiles for people and built fenders. I beat out more damn fenders than you could shake a stick at. But I learned all that.
All right, after tell us about when you...
I went to my boss, Oscar. I said, Oscar, I'm going to leave you. He said, Harry, no.
Now, how long did you work for him? You remember?
I don't remember how long I worked for him, Joe. A couple of years, I guess, huh, Mother? Mm-hmm. So anyhow, I just had to eat, and I couldn't find a job. I walked that city all over, and it's a big one. I walked day after day, and I had to eat. And it was terrible. Places closed down. You haven't any idea.
Now why were you quitting Oscar?
So then I decided, well, Mother and I met, and she said, well, asked me not to take off and go on up north, and I kind of half promised I wouldn't, but still I couldn't do otherwise. I couldn't stay down there when I couldn't get a job. I had to have money to eat. Well, so I finally took off walking and went up north, up to Santa Cruz.
Okay, now we haven't answered one question, and that is, why did you quit working for Oscar?
Huh?
Why did you quit working for Oscar?
Because there wasn't any work.
Because that was a depression.
Oh, well, I didn't know whether...
No, depression.
You just wasn't enough work for you at Oscar's.
There wasn't any work for him.
Okay.
And he said to me, you stay here till I close the doors, Harry. He said, you stayed here and helped me and worked. And we really did enjoy each other. He is a grand guy. I worked hard for him, and he knew it.
Okay.
He was a wonderful man. A good all-around craftsman if there ever was one.
Okay, so after you left Oscar, then...
I went up to Santa Cruz, and I walked. From there on up, I didn't have money for transportation, and I got 2 or 3 lifts and hitchhiking along the way up there, and I finally did get on a bus and get a ride up part of it up to Santa Cruz, and then I decided that maybe I up there could find a little work of some kind and to get out of the hole. And so then later Mother came up, and she stayed up there for a day or 2 or so, or whatever it was, and I said, well, I'll be back down such and such. I didn't have much money, I wasn't making much, picking up a little here and there, but I said, I'll be down and try it again. And I did go down.
Might ask, how did you travel up there to Santa Cruz, Mother?
Huh?
How did Mother travel up to Santa Cruz?
I just by bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, by bus. So then, she was working, but, you know, they didn't make money like these guys now, you know. $40 a month. 5 clerks and things. She's struggling too. But anyhow, I went back down, and we got into digging together the best we could. I got a job in the garage, and I worked for several. I forget in what succession. Pacific Auto Body and Parts, Granada Garage, Beechwood's Garage. I worked at several of them and all, wherever I could get a job. And then finally, we decided to get married. And start out struggling. So we got us a little apartment up there, 1075 North St. Andrews. And that was big money for us too, because it was 37.50 a month.
That's St. Andrews?
Huh?
Is that St. Andrews?
Yeah.
Okay.
St. Andrews Place. So we got in struggling.
Now you might take a minute and tell us how you and Mother met.
How we met?
Yes.
Well, while I was down in Los Angeles there, just before the Depression hit real hard, I met a fella. I lived about a block away from the Olympic Stadium where they held all the wrestling matches and stuff. And I went over, there's a pool hall there, we more or less just hung out. And I just went over there and a fellow that, well, several fellows came in there, and I was a stranger in town, and this one guy kind of roughed me up when he went by, you know how they do when they get a beer or two, and I jerked him around and I said, I don't look for any trouble, I don't run from any, I said, and if you really want trouble, let's get outdoors and go to work at it. And he backed down then, and we became real good friends. His mother was a widow, and he worked in the soda fountain and all up at the hospital where you were born. So we got together and visiting and going back and forth. There was very little difference in our age, and we enjoyed. One night he said, Harry, he said, my cousin said that they're having a church beach party or something out of Santa Monica lighthouse. And I said, well, I know if we wanted a couple of girls here from Salt Lake, he said, if we want to go on a blind date. I said, no, we can't afford it. No, forget it. Okay, so it came near the night of the party, and Harry said, Holden's asking me again. He wants us to go. He said, what about it? I said, we ain't got nothing else hilarious to do, let's go. So we went. She was this Hulda, this fellow that Roger that I met, it was his cousin. And she and Vera's mother's sister, Grace, were real good friends. And so, and they were active. It was a war deal, you know, mutual and all. So I said, okay, so we went to this beach party that night. And then one thing after another, we went out as often as I could shake up enough money to do it. We went out. We didn't have hilarious. We had good times, Mother and I. Neither one of us had much, and we knew how to spend it.
So Mother was your blind date for going out to the lighthouse?
Yeah, she was. Wasn't bad. After I told Roger, I said, yeah, if they're willing to take a chance on us, we ought to be able to take a chance. I'd always remember that guy. So anyhow, we went out then, and we got going together then. Went together for quite a while, but it didn't look very good because the Depression hit, no work, no money. But she was willing to take a chance, so was I guess. I didn't think that she would. Well, we got married anyhow, and decided we'd head out. We scrounged along for a long time, Gerald. But your mother, she was a good manager too. she spent wisely and carefully so that we could advance ahead, and we both worked the best we could to get a few dollars. Your mother knew how to save them. She worked at it, worked religiously and hard. And then, so gradually we got uphill. We made it to Woolworths. But
So,
we didn't do it the easy way.
so you might mention a couple of places that you lived down in California while you were there, and any other places you worked.
I don't remember the different addresses. I worked all these different places, several different places, and I held good jobs. I was a shop foreman or superintendent of these places. I always got a good job. Of course, in those days, a good job didn't mean much because hell, they didn't pay money for anything. You just, all you got's the title. So, then we finally moved one place to another. I remember I come home and mother, I said, well, I called up her boss and told her she was quitting. It was too much, her trying to work at home and had a job too, and she was just killing herself. She said, I said, just get through. I said, we'll just have to make it on one salary, and so that's what we did. And then one day I came home and you guys were 2 and 4 years old, and I could see we weren't getting anywhere special and doing nothing but just making about the same as we could anywhere. I said, how would you like to go to Salt Lake? She says, I've never said anything or complained, have I? I said, no. I haven't complained or anything, have I? I said, no. You really mean it? Why? I said, well, I think we're in a rut. We're not getting anywhere now, and it might be, a change might be good for us. And she emphasized again, that we weren't going because she'd complained anyway. I said, no, you didn't complain. So I eventually put her on a train, and she came back here, then I took and drove out with our Ford, little Ford sedan.
What year was that, Ford?
1930, deluxe 4-door Brougham. It was a very beautiful little car.
Did you get it new, or was it used?
No, used. I never have owned a new car. So we come back here and got here, and gradually one thing after another, finally went to work,
Okay, when you came to Salt Lake, where did you stay?
We stayed with Grandma, with Mother's mother-in-law, and Mother came to me and said, scrounged and saved, and had a pretty nice little savings account, and it took and bought that house for Claudia's, 923 Yale Avenue, while we were living there with her mother. Took and bought it, bought new light fixtures and painted and fixed it all up. It was really nice inside, and had the fireplace jazzed up and all. And decided we bought that little place, so we never paid a dime's rent in this town. So we finally got that fixed up, and we moved into Yale Avenue.
Now, where was your first employment here in Salt Lake City after you arrived?
Well, I can't think of where I first worked.
Oh, you can't go back, I know all of that.
No, steel body on about 7 or 8 south of Maine. And then Petty Motor, and then Bennett's.
How long were you with Petty Motor, do you remember, roughly?
Several years. I don't remember exactly any dates,
Okay.
but several years.
How about Bennett Motor? How long were you with them?
Well, Bennett's came to me and made me an offer. I was working for Petty's. And those days it's a little different. We got 75, 80, 85 cents an hour was top mechanics, top wages. Bennett offered me 10 cents an hour more than Petty's would, and Petty's wouldn't go up any, so I left them, went there. And then I was there for quite a while. They made me shop superintendent there. The reconditioning end of it and all, I had 18 men. And I took that, and Petty's come up, made me an offer later on then for 10 cents an hour more, and I went to old Bennett himself, and Wallace Bennett, and hit him up, and he said, "Harry, I can't. If I give you an increase, I've got to give everybody else one and all." They had good policy. I said, "Well, I'm going to leave you then, because you're in business to make what money you can, and I've got to do the same. I've got to work for what I can. 80 cents or a dollar a day more mean quite a little bit for me every month." Bearing in mind that we didn't make the money we're making now. Nowhere near it. And every dollar meant a lot. So I left him, and I went back to work for him.
For Petty?
Yeah.
Okay. How long you were with Petty the second time? Do you have any idea?
I don't know just how long. I know I opened my own shop though. I went opened shop up here in Kensington and 15th, then opened garage and service station and all on the northeast corner of Wilmington and Highland Drive. It's not there anymore because the guy who sold it to some way or other caught fire, was washing with gasoline or something and burnt, but I said,
Now, did you have the East Bench Service Garage before you had the garage?
Huh?
Did you have the East Bench Service Garage before you had the garage in your house?
yes.
Okay, that goes back.
But I was having trouble up here to keep it and all. There was politics, church politics and otherwise. So
They didn't want an automotive garage in the neighborhood? Is that the idea?
well, been there for years and all that, see. But the fellow up there wanted a woodworking shop, and he couldn't have it up there at all. So then he insisted to do what he could to get the garage out of there after all those years. And it wasn't legitimate or flat, but the stake president was the head man of Utah Oil, and they controlled the property. So they booted me out.
Now, how many years were you up there at
I don't remember,
East
Joe.
Bench Service?
I never kept a track of how long I was at any one of these places.
Right. What address was that on Kensington? 15 something.
I don't remember that. It was on right behind by the Economy Drug there.
I remember. Now your garage and sugar house, do you remember the address there on that?
No, Wilmington and Highland Drive.
Okay. That was on the northeast corner, right?
Yeah,
And you and Chick Edgington,
right.
you started that out together?
Yes. I started out and took Chick in with me. And he was a good guy.
How long were you together at that garage?
I don't know. He's started out, we couldn't set a good flat paycheck every week to start with, you know.
Yeah.
And his wife was unhappy about the fact he wasn't getting a big paycheck right from the beginning each week, so we sold out.
Then where did you go from there? After you sold out your garage and sugar house?
Oh, that's when I went with the Apartment House Association and all.
You were associated with,
Huh?
and you were associated with what's his name? Was his name Wright? No, Waite.
Oh, Wait?
Yeah, where did you meet?
Yeah, Bert Wait.
Did you know him, and is that how you got associated
Not too well, knew him, but not too well. Met him over at the ward and all, you know, we're same quorum and all, you know.
How'd you get associated with the Apartment House Association?
Through Bert. And Bert took on as the executive vice president of the real estate board, leaving the executive secretary open to the apartment association, and so he offered that to me.
Yeah.
I took it on.
Do you have any idea how long you were with the Apartment House Association?
No, well, let's see,
Just roughly in years?
62. I guess 3 or 4 years.
Then where did your selling tools, the Cromwell tools, where did that fit in?
Well, I sold that out. We sold that, the tool business and all that, and the garage, and the shop tools and all that, all out to,
Sold out your shop and station in Sugar House, then you went into the tool business. Do you want to? How long were you selling Cromwell tools?
oh, I forget now, let's see. I guess a couple, 3 years.
And then from there you went to the apartment
Yeah,
association.
yeah.
Okay. And you can't recall exactly how many years you were with the apartment association?
No.
So after you finished with the apartment association, then where did you work?
No, I couldn't take it in with anything else. It had to be separate.
So you went to, after the apartment association, you went to work for the city?
Well, yes.
Okay, you were kind of in business for yourself for a while there, weren't you, between the apartment association and the city? Didn't you, apartment management or something?
Well, I had real estate sales management and rental business, but I had to, after my probation period was over and they accepted me in the city, then I had to give it up altogether.
Okay.
So I just stayed with the city.
Okay, what was your job with the city?
Well, I served first before I took on steady payroll job as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, a member of the Board of Adjustments on Zoning, and zoning enforcement. A zoning enforcement officer. And then I when approved, I took on a probation period. I took on as Chief Zoning Enforcement Officer and Special Officer. That's all that I did after that.
Okay, so then you retired from the city at what year? Do you remember what year that was?
74. August 29, 1974.
That was after your 65th birthday then, that you retired.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved from Yale Avenue, what year was that when you moved to your present home?
41.
Okay, and then you moved up here to 1531 Westminster.
Right. We've been here ever since.
Okay, I know that as we were growing up, you made several trips, vacation trips and that. Do you recall any of those places that you like to go, or did you go back down to California and visit California and Aunt Grace and
I think
those
once.
sort of things?
Yeah, we did once or twice, yes. Down to California and visited Grace and all, and went down to San Diego on conventions and so forth.
Anything special that you can remember in your, with the family as we were growing up? You know, Christmases and holidays, or things that I know we used to go up to Bear Lake for a number of years. How many years did we go up to Bear Lake during the 4th of July?
I don't know, we went several years up there on 4th of July and days like that, you know. But I don't remember how many or all the days. We went up there, and I think Nate and Ken went with them once and all. But we went up there 2 or 3 times. Up to Bear Lake.
Let's see, what was the name of the resort up there we stayed at? Can you remember?
Fish Haven. Fish Haven, Idaho.
I know we used to go on the Idaho side because we could shoot the fireworks, one of the reasons.
Yeah, just over the line.
Okay, well, I think we'll probably close now, and then you might reflect on a few other items in your life, occasions, and things you'd like to do that we might continue on from there. You might, next time, reflect after you retired from the city, what are some of the things you did, you know, in your retirement.